Also breaking tonight, the work ethic camp being converted to an ICE detention facility in western Nebraska is now empty. First Alert 6 Investigates has learned every single inmate, nearly 200 of them, has been moved to other correction buildings, mostly to Lincoln and Omaha.
Today, Governor Jim Pillen's team confirms with First Alert 6 the planned ICE detention facility in McCook will open at the start of November. That's about 18 days away and about 2 weeks later than Pillen's original opening date. Right now, crews are busy building an exterior fence around the work ethic camp. Back in August, Governor Pillen announced plans to turn the minimum security prison work camp into an immigration detention center. The Department of Homeland Security refers to this facility as the Cornhusker Clink. Modifications planned are to expand the capacity by 1/3 to hold 300 people who are minimal to low risk.
And tonight I've been digging through the names to find out where corrections sent the remaining 89 men who were at the work ethic camp this time last week. Again, 89 was the count a week ago. Here's what I found. 59 were transferred to the state penitentiary in Lincoln. 17 were transferred to the Omaha Correctional Center. That's near Epley. That's a medium and minimum security facility. 11 landed at Community Corrections in Lincoln. That's often the last stop before being released. And 2 were transferred to reception and treatment in Lincoln. Again, the work ethic camp is empty as we speak, soon to be ready by November 1 to become an ICE detention facility.